Hello to all my friends from Hillel Israel. I know you're all wondering if this real sunset. No, it's a wallpaper. It's a wallpaper and a pretty horrible one. It costs something like 150 shekels, and it looks like that. But this is my background for this video, so I'm sorry. I didn't want this to occupy your mind while I was talking. I'm sorry. So my name is Guri Alfi, and I did the show called The New Jew. And I hear you are you can identify with this show, with my journey over there to North America to meet the Jewish jewelry there, and it had a lot of impact on my life, meeting everybody there and finding out all sorts of ways to preserve and to practice your Judaism. Stuff that I was avoiding, I guess, or pushing back. And now I'm glad to say I'm a proud Jew. I'm a proud Jew. I think people in the U.S., in North America, take pride on being Jewish, and they practice it, and they choose it. They choose to be Jewish. And here I take it as a given because I'm an Israeli, and we govern this state, and we talk Hebrew, and all around me we celebrate the Jewish holidays. So I'm not even thinking about it. But it should be something you think about. It should be something that you identify with, and you practice, and you teach, and you pass on to your children. And I'm in this kind of situation in life where I felt my like an identity crisis. And just looking at the people abroad, at my brothers and sisters in the U.S., made me feel more attached to my Judaism. I mean, through all my life, I wasn't attached like I am now. So I hear that Hillel Israel, you're doing the same job and making it significant for people to identify and to be proud of being Jewish. And I think it's a great cause, and it's something that we should have all around. People from Israel and people abroad and everywhere in the diaspora, people should be proud and not feeling ashamed of who we are. It's a big thing in our life. It's an important narrative which has been passed on for so many years. We cannot let it go. We cannot live our lives without really getting attached to this narrative, because it's part of who we are. It's part of our DNA. So I wish I was coherent in English. I'm sorry. And I wish you all a good year and a happy anniversary, 70th anniversary. Thank you.
Shalom everyone. Bruchim aba'im and bruchot aba'ot. Almost Shana Tova. Welcome to the Simcha of Hillel Israel's 70th year anniversary. I'm Rabbi Noga Brenner Samia, Director General of Hillel Israel. So proud to be here today to celebrate this special occasion with all of you. A big thank you to Guri Alfi, one of Israel's favorite comedians and actors, who through his own personal Jewish journey has discovered and joined the family of Hillel Israel. Toda Rabba. For 70 years, Hillel Israel has been offering Israeli students opportunities for exploring Jewish identity through Jewish learning, leadership, volunteer work, social activism, and community. For 70 years, Hillel Israel has been proactive about creating Jewish spaces that are inclusive, relevant, and inspirational for students of all backgrounds and affiliations. And in a time when there are rifts between Israel and Jews around the world, Hillel Israel is proactive about connecting Israelis and Jews from around the world, building lasting relationships among Jews from Israel and global Jewish communities. The two tenets of our work are pluralism, offering diverse approaches to being Jewish, and peoplehood, creating a sense of belonging to the global Jewish people, telling the collective story of our nation. We come together to celebrate the accomplishments of the past 70 years, to thank all those that have made it possible, and to affirm our commitment to the mission of Hillel in Israel going forward.
I came on the scene in 1985, started in 86, and at that time we had one Hillel at Hebrew University. And within 10-15 years, we were able to establish 8-9 Hillels throughout the state of Israel. It was an amazing contribution, still is an amazing contribution to Israeli society, and a commitment to world Jewry. That was very, very important to us, that they should feel that they're part of a whole, of a world community. And we did all kinds of programs. We brought groups to Israel. We even took some of our students and sent them to the US, or to, when we opened the former Soviet Union, we sent them to the former Soviet Union, to Europe. It was an amazing, amazing period, and I feel privileged.
It's not always clearly understood why there's a need for Hillel in Israel. But I have to tell you that if there is not a need for a Hillel in Israel, there's really not an understood need for Hillel anywhere in the world. Because if Israel is to be a Jewish state, that is the place where Jewish identity has to be a visible characteristic of life in Israel. And if the Israeli student is not carrying that, then what is Hillel all about? Why do I need a Hillel in all of these different countries, trying to get people to feel that they're part of something called the Jewish people, when in a state where Jews are sovereign, this is not an issue. It is a burning issue. At the end of my term of office as president of Hillel International, I returned to my home in Israel. And I made a promise to the late Edgar Bronfman that I would accept the chairmanship of the Hillels of Israel. I'm very happy to tell you that I did so. And it enriched my life back in Israel because it opened up a particularly new niche to Jewish education in Israel, and that is the campus.
Only when I arrived at Hillel Israel, to the place where the main target crowd are Israeli students, I understood for the first time the essence of a peoplehood-based Jewish identity. A Jewish identity that leans on the fact that we are all a part of the same people.
Hello, my name is Dor Juida. I am the Hillel director of Tel Hai College, and I want to congratulate Hillel Israel for the birthday of 70 years. Congratulations.
Hi everyone, my name is Valentina. I'm Hillel Director at Technion and Haifa University. Congratulations, Hillel Israel.
Hi everyone, my name is Or Grossman and I'm the director of Hillel Tel Aviv. Congratulations, Hillel Israel.
Shalom Yerushalayim.
Mazal Tov.
Hillel Israel.
From all of us.
The Hebrew University.
Happy 70.
My name is Lee Cohen and I'm the director at Ben Gurion University Hillel. I want to wish Hillel Israel Mazal Tov.
Most impactful experiences that I have as an intern at Hillel was, of course, just getting the opportunity to hone my leadership and development skills. The setting that I was given to really take my ideas and let them fly while getting a lot of support and tools to help me get those things to happen was really impactful for me.
I think that Hillel had a big effect on my Jewish journey because it made me realize how important it is to keep in touch with the Jewish diaspora all around the world. Because for many years I thought that as an Ola Chadasha, the new immigrant that is here now in Israel, my job is kind of done, but actually it's not, because I keep being in touch, obviously, with the Jews all around the world, and also remembering the mentality of these Jews and the history of these Jews, which I'm part of. And I think that Hillel gives me exactly this opportunity to step out of my comfort zone and learn even more.
An important experience that I take from Hillel Israel activities is deciding to go on shlichut, to be an Israeli fellow in Hillel Milwaukee, hopefully in this summer.
Hillel Israel gave me so much. Today, as the director of the partnership unit at the Jewish Agency, I understand how much that experience in 2003 contributes so much to my own Jewish identity, but also opened a window to the Jewish world and to the Jewish people. Toda rabah.
I had a very meaningful experience during my time with Hillel in Israel, in Jerusalem, particularly because it connected me to the scope of opportunity to be a leader and a professional leader in the Jewish communal world, reaching not just my community back home where I came from, but also in Israel and across the Jewish world. It connected me to peers, professionals, leaders, activists who had the same passions I did in a broader and deeper way. and actually made me feel that that was possible to do in Israel as well, both living here and engage with Israelis.
I was lucky to go to the former Soviet Union in a delegation that opened my eyes and actually impact me as an activist, as a Russian-speaking Israeli activist, so thank you for that. And I think that the importance of Hillel is doing this eye-opening experience for the students.
So glad you could be here with us to kick off the celebration of 70 years of engagement university students across Israel to explore their Jewish identity in meaningful ways and bringing young Jewish students together from Israel and around the world for learning together, acting together, and celebrating Jewish life together. My name is Keren Di Castro, and I am Deputy Director of Hillel Israel. I started my engagement with Jewish communities around the world when I was a Shinshinit, a Shlicha, in Greater Metro West New Jersey almost 20 years ago, and I fell in love. Because of that, I'm here today. Although we would have loved to be together in person, we are grateful to be able to bring everyone together today. I would like to now welcome Dr. Yossi Beiling, former minister and member of Knesset, one of the founders of Tiglit Birthright, and an active in strengthening Israel diaspora relations, currently chairman of the board of Israel, Hillel Israel, to share his blessing for Hillel's 70th birthday.
Thank you for celebrating with us the 70th anniversary of Hillel in Israel. We are dealing with Israeli Jewish students with issues like Jewish roots, their own family roots, Jewish continuity, the Jews in the 21st century, and the connections between different Jewish communities today. It's a very interesting target. We are dealing with it intensively, and it is really wonderful for us, for me personally, to see that there are so many young people in Israel in the universities who are interested in this issue, which may be seen for others as some anachronistic theme of yesterday, actually. But this is not the case. I must say that the task that we have, the Jewish community in Israel, which is the big majority, and the Jewish minority in the United States, is a very, very difficult one, because it means that we are having the responsibility for keeping the Jewish continuity. We are 86% of the Jews in the world, and we must meet each other, talk to each other, and see how can we live together rather than to distance ourselves from each other. It's not a very easy job.
Thank you, Dr. Beiling. We are all grateful for your hard work and dedication to Hillel Israel, our students and our mission. While Hillel Israel priority is our students here, our impact reaches Jewish students throughout the world and across the entire Hillel movement. I'd like to welcome President and CEO of Hillel International, Adam Lehman, to share his blessing for Hillel Israel's 70th birthday.
Shalom and Bruchim Habayim. It is such a privilege to be able to join you today in celebrating 70 incredible years of Hillel Israel. I've had the pleasure of getting to know some of the great leaders who have shaped Hillel Israel's trajectory over these 7 decades. Rabbi Yossi Goldman, Avram Infeld, Alon Friedman. Kol hakavod to all of the men and women who have made Hillel Israel what it is today. I'm also inspired by the current strong leadership of Hillel Israel Dr. Yossi Balin and the board of directors, Noga Brenner Samia and her staff at Hillel Israel, including the terrific directors on campus, and the student leaders with whom I've had a chance to spend some time over recent months via Zoom. Your commitment, creativity, and passion inspire confidence for me and our entire team at Hillel International in terms of our partnership and your sacred work every day on behalf of Jewish students in Israel and connecting Jewish students in Israel with Jewish students at Hillels around the world. I'm also appreciative of the many supporters and partners without whom our work at Hillel Israel, it just wouldn't be possible. In that regard, we are deeply honored to have Minister Shai and President Herzog with us today and representing the government of Israel. As many of you know, the number 70 has special meanings in Judaism, and one of its special meanings is Shavim Panim La Torah, the idea that every verse of Torah has 70 faces, can be interpreted in 70 ways. And that idea seems especially applicable with today's celebration as we think about the 70 unique years of Hillel Israel and of the virtually innumerable ways in which Hillel Israel has positively impacted the lives and futures of thousands of young people. Mazel tov on this simcha. Looking forward to the next 70 years of Hillel Israel advancing the missions of the Hillel movement, of Israel, and of the Jewish people, and wishing everyone a Shana Tova Umetuka.
Thank you, Adam, for this beautiful blessing. I would now like to invite Esther Abramovich, Associate Vice President of Global Israel Experiences, to moderate our student and alumni panel. Esther, bevakasha.
Thanks so much, Karen. It's such a joy to be here to bless Hillel Israel on its 70th birthday, and to think that I've been around for 30 of those years. Nes Gadol Hayapo. This is quite a miracle for me. As you can probably surmise from my accent, I was born in the United States, but I've lived here in Jerusalem for most of my adult life, but not before starting my career at Penn Hillel. I had the hugest privilege to start my career alongside Rabbi Yossi Goldman with the overseas students who came to Hebrew U for their junior year, while at the same time flying back and forth to the former Soviet Union, either facilitating seders all over Western Ukraine, teaching, celebrating, and training our staff. Today, I am blessed to be a connector between Hillel professionals and students from all over the world with Hillel Israel. I have greeted thousands of staff and students as they come to Israel, which is probably my favorite thing to do. I love being the face of Hillel International for staff and students here in Israel. Now on to the most important part of our day, meeting our fabulous students. We will start by hearing personal Jewish joys from our three panelists who will introduce themselves and share their stories. Shani, you are up first.
So hi everyone, my name is Shani, I'm 25, I'm studying childhood culture in Tel Aviv University, and I was born in a city called Ramle for parents that came here from USSR, and I started my journey in Hillel, I think it was after my second birthright trip. The first one was with Americans when I was in the army, but the second one was when I was a freshman in the university. And then I went on this trip with a Russian group from Moscow, and then suddenly I just met this kind of like whole new world for me, because I'm a student from Israel, Russian-speaking student, and my Jewish identity is so different than the Jewish identity that people from Moscow has. So for me, that was a very big discovery, and I found my spot in Hillel Tel Aviv. I joined for two different programs that were sponsored by Genesis. So the first one is called Connectals. In each of the participants were doing this kind of an event in the end of the program, and every event was this bridge between our identities as Jews, Russian-speaking Jews or Israelis, and Israelis. And the other program was called Ruskies United. This one happened this year over Zoom. And thanks to the Corona, we actually we were familiar with this option to meet new people from different sides of the world. So in this program, I participated along with students from Baruch College from New York, that they are Russia-speaking Jews, and also Russia-speaking Jews from St. Petersburg. So that's my story with Hillel.
Thank you so much, Shani. I love the global aspect of Hillel, and Hillel Israel is sort of at the center of all that global activity. It's very exciting. Dor, you're up next.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dor Juida. I live now in Shar Yishuv in the north of Israel. Now I am the director of Hillel Tel Chai College. Very excited to do that. My parents are working in agriculture in the north. I have one sister and one brother. I'm very happy to live here in the north. I started as Hillel intern in Tel Chai, which was an amazing process for me to understand the views and the difference in the Jewish world. After that, I went and became a delegate in UCSD in Hillel in San Diego for 2 years. Came back here, worked in the Jewish agency. It was very tough to come back to the north and try to establish a family. I got married very happily.
Mazal tov.
Thank you to Ribal. She's the most amazing woman in the world. I came here, established a house with her together, and now I came back to work as a Hillel professional, as the manager and director at Hillel Tel Chai. That's it.
There's nothing better than our Israel fellows that we send off from Hillel Israel and then we welcome back from Hillel Israel. I love it. Thank you so much, Dor. Regev, you're up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Legev. I go by Ray as well. I am 23, just graduating with my BA in political science from Tel Aviv University as well. And to try to summarize how I was introduced to Hillel was actually somewhat by mistake. I would say I didn't really have a Jewish identity growing up so much. I very much came from an Israeli atheist family, so we never really thought about this identity. I was just Israeli, and I got very involved within Israeli advocacy and being really involved in international relations from this aspect. And when I was finishing my first year of university, I saw an opportunity to represent Hillel Israel in the AJC conference in DC. And to me, that was so cool, going to DC, representing Israel, and that's the way I was viewing it. But when I came to DC, we met with a group of people from Hillel International from all over the world, pretty much. And we spent a week together in DC, and our connecting identity was Hillel and being Jewish. And I got to go to a Reform synagogue for the first time. And it was a 6 and I synagogue in Washington, DC. And to me, that was such a spiritual experience, and really, I think, emphasized how much cultural room Judaism had in my life and how much impact it had on my identity, even if not in the way that I perceived it before. And ever since then, I've been involved in Hillel Israel, trying to replicate that same idea of community and the same idea of this being a cultural identity, this being a connecting factor. So my second year of university, my first real year in Hillel, I started a program called Kehilel, which is Kehila and Hillel, community in Hillel, which was meant to basically replicate what Hillels do all over the world, but not in Israel, which is to try to bring Jewish people together and try to make their Jewish identity this common cultural factor. And this year I've done a leadership program all over Israel called Menhigunet, which is Leadership Net, which also, similarly to Shani, this opened a lot of opportunities, the Zoom, to have people from all over the country meet together and meet so many interesting speakers to try to continue this conversation on what makes us a people, trying to close the gap between maybe Israeli Jewry and American Jewry, North American Jewry, and so on. So that has been me, and I'm so thankful that this was it's such a fortunate stumble with Hillel Israel that continued for the past 2.5 years.
Oh my God, amazing, Regev. Thank you so much. I think that one of the things that's so powerful is that Israeli students sort of meet their relatives, the relatives that we don't always know about, right? That live on all sorts of other parts of the ocean that are like, oh my God, we're family. Like we have the same stories, we have different stories, but the stories connect. And that's the beauty, I think, of like you having the opportunity to go to that conference, and for Shani, for you to meet students, and Dor, for you to go to UCSD. Like we get to meet and learn and also bring of ourselves to Jews all over the world. I'd love to hear about a significant moment or a significant experience that happened to you through Hillel Israel that had a really important impact on your life. So I'm going to go to Shani first again. Can you share one with us?
Yeah, sure. And actually, mine is connected to you, Esther. I don't know. I don't know if you remember, but you came to one of our first meetings in Hillel in Tel Aviv to connectors, and you told us that when you were a little child, your parents took you, I think it was every Sunday, to protest to get the Jewish people from the Soviet Union to get out from the state. So that was actually the first time in my life, I think, that I was dealing with this topic of refuseniks, of people like my parents that were trapped in a country that didn't let them out to their own country, to Israel. And that thing, this story of yours, it really touched me, because somebody
You're trying to make me cry, Shani.
Because really, somebody who doesn't know anybody of my family, thanks to you and thanks to many other people, you were the people who I need to thank, because thanks to you, I'm here in Israel. And that's why I was very, very excited to meet Nathan Sharansky in Ruskies United. He was our guest in the program, and it was a very big honor for me to hear his story. And I wanted to ask him, how can we make the young Jewish people here in Israel and both in Russia and the United States, how can we make this community of Russia-speaking Jews closer than it is now? How can we make ourselves more alike? And then he heard my question and he said, why do we need to be like each other? Why do we need to be similar to each other? We can be different. Being different is not something bad. It's actually something very interesting. And this answer just opened up my mind for something big and new, because it really changed the way I look about my Judaism and the way I relate to other communities all around the world. Because now I can say that I can feel myself even more home in different places, because it doesn't have to be the same as in Israel. It can be different, and different is fine.
Different is fabulous. Thank you so much, Shani. That was beautiful. Regev, I'm going to ask you the same question. Can you share with us a moment or an experience that had a significant impact on your life from Hillel Israel?
Of course. First of all, to relate to what you said earlier, yes, we definitely are relatives. And I did the 23andMe, and basically anytime an Ashkenazi Jew takes it, I get a cousin. So we definitely are very much my relatives. But I think the moment that I am thinking about also relates to this, what Judaism has become for me, which is this family, like you said, and this community that I can rely on. And during our leadership program in Huguenet this past year, we met every 2 weeks or so and had a program. We met with speakers, and it was very busy doing. But over the latest operation, the latest national security situation we had in Israel, we were supposed to meet. I think it was the second day of that going down, and we kind of scrapped the program that we were supposed to do. And we met the entire group of us, which was 12 people, and we were all a bit shaken for obvious reasons, I think, everyone from their perspective. And I didn't really expect it to be such a comforting platform for me and for everyone involved, but we just spent our time together sharing our experiences, our emotions, our feelings, what do we think about this, and being there for each other and being this community that I wanted and that I was seeking out. And I think it's so important to me, because this is exactly what I wanted from my Jewish identity, from Hillel Israel, to create this family, this support system. So to me, that was such an important, special moment, and to everyone in the program as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Regev. That's beautiful. I'd love to hear from Dor in particular about like, okay, you're now the Hillel director at Hillel in Tel Chai. Like, what do you think about Hillel in the future? Like, how did you get here? Like, what is Hillel Israel for you right now?
Oh wow. So much.
So much?
Yeah. Hillel for me, now it's everything. I've chosen to put my career in Hillel. I've done that for 2 times, around 2 times now. And it's very, very emotional for me. I feel like the values of Hillel, and I hear Shani and Regev talking about the values of family and togetherness and peoplehood. I feel like those values are embedded in me, and I feel like this is the path that I've chosen to walk in. This is to be a Jewish professional, to try and make more than what there is in our sphere, in our Jewish life, and to touch more Jewish students as much as I can, and to make them feel as I felt when I was a student here in Tel Chai. And it's meaningful for me. I feel like this is what I've chosen to do. And this is my daily life. Through my Jewish experience, when I grew up in a traditional family. And I was not fully aware of what peoplehood is and what Judaism is. And I feel like when I came to Hillel, we call it the chidak. We call it the virus, the Hillel virus, in a good way.
A good virus.
Yeah, a good virus. A very good one. And I got it. I got it when I was a student in Hillel, and I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we do stuff, then we get more and more people infected in a good way. I know in the coronavirus it can be a little bit into the bad side, but this is a good virus, and we spread it as much as we can, and to more students and more students. And this is what I want to do with my life.
Amazing. Welcome. We're happy to have you, George. It's so exciting. Shani, Regev, any last words? Anything you want us to leave us with? To leave this to all the people that are listening to us.
I really want to thank Hillel for this opportunity to understand better my roots and my relationship with my Jewish identity. And actually, it made my relations with my parents, with my grandparents, with everything that I feel about my Jewish community. My relations are even much more better now. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Shani. Regev, any last thoughts?
Sure. First of all, yes, I'm with Shani. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I did want to say, I think one of the most influential things for me was deepening the conversation and talking to people from all over the world and getting to know Judaism that I've never met before in many different aspects from many different people. So if there's anything you can do to keep broadening the conversation and talking to people who are different from all over the Jewish world, I highly encourage you and would love to talk to you personally. And thank you again.
Thank you so much to the three of you. I'm a little verklempt. I'm a little bit overwhelmed with emotion. I hope you all enjoyed listening to these three phenomenal individuals who shared their stories with us and opened their hearts. So thank you for opening your hearts, and thank you for being with us. And Lizrot, see you later, everyone. We'll see you in Israel soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Esther, Shani, Dor, and Regev. It fills my heart with joy to hear our students and alumni talk about Hillel Israel. At the end of the day, that's why we are all here. Toda Rabba. I am excited now to invite us all to hear a special greeting from the President of Israel, Mr. Yitzhak Bougie Herzog, former chairman of the Jewish Agency and longtime friend of Hillel. We are so proud to have his blessing on this special day.
Dear friends, I'm delighted to join you in celebrating this impressive milestone, Hillel Israel's 70th anniversary. The brand Hillel has long been synonymous with Israel engagement, campuses, and Jewish identity, and I have tremendous respect for Hillel. As former chairman of the Jewish Agency, I can tell you I was extremely impressed by the work which Hillel does. And the work of Hillel Israel, however, requires a fundamentally distinct approach because in Israel, Jewish identity seems self-evident. The predominant perception is that in Israel, all you have to do is show up. The founders of Hillel recognized this sentiment as an opportunity. And so, over these 70 years, Hillel Israel has positioned itself as a tailor-made platform for local exploration, education, and engagement. The Israeli version of this global organization aims to understand the essence of pluralism whilst promoting peoplehood, social action, and Jewish identity, all within the framework of the singular Jewish democratic state, the State of Israel. This is the achievement we are celebrating. We learned that the Torah has 70 faces. As is said, Shivim Panim LaTorah. Throughout its 70 years, Hillel Israel has demonstrated the multiple beautiful faces of our people and our land. Mazal Tov Hillel Israel, keep up the good work, and may you go from strength to strength. And Shana Tova to all of your management, supporters, activists, and members. Ktiva v'chatima tova, and good wishes.
We have one more surprise for you today. I am thrilled to share with you a blessing from the newly appointed Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, Mr. Nachman Shai, a strong advocate for Jewish peoplehood here in Israel, and also a dear friend of Hillel Israel.
Shalom. I'm very happy to celebrate with you 70 years of Hillel activities on Israeli campuses, including at the Hebrew University, Ben Gurion, and Tel Aviv University. As someone who has spent many years on college campuses around the world as both a student and professor, I'm particularly aware of the critical work done by Hillel, whether in Jerusalem or Atlanta or Duke University. Hillel houses serve as important spaces for connection, dialogue, education, mentorship, and so many more. For many, Hillel houses became their second home, a place where they meet lifelong friends and discover new dimensions of their Jewish identity. Hillel champions Jewish values such as pluralism, peoplehood, inclusivity, connection, and social action. In Israel, Hillel does great work to build bridges between Israelis and the larger Jewish world and connect students to other young Jews both locally and globally. Thank you for being a community that continues to welcome and inspire our young people. I would also like to send a special thank to my good friend, Dr. Yossi Belin, for his visionary work over the years in inspiring young people around the world, including, of course, Birthright, Taglit. Happy 70th birthday, Hillel. May you continue go from strength to strength. תודה רבה ולהתראות.
Thank you all so much for joining us here to celebrate Hillel Israel's 70th anniversary. And thanks to all of you who have shared such wonderful and inspirational blessings. We are riding on the shoulders of giants. So many amazing people have contributed to building this organization, some of whom we've heard from today, either in pictures or in videos: Shalom Doron and Yossi Chechanover, Rabbi Yossi Goldman, Avram Infeld, Yossi Balin, Alon Friedman, and so many more. I'm honored to continue their legacy, together with the current staff and members of the board of Hillel Israel, taking this organization into the next decade, to continue to engage students during a formative time in their lives, a time when they're students at the university, bringing them into the Jewish story, asking them the hard questions about what does it mean to be a Jew? Who are they in the Jewish story? What is their responsibility to Jews around the world, to Jewish memory, to Jewish continuity, to Jewish values, to one another? When I talk about Jewish peoplehood, it's not only a professional task for me, it's also a very personal one. My immediate family, being split between Israel and the United States, makes it very hard for me, but makes it even more of a challenge to get Jews around the world to care for one another, wherever they are in the world. This has become a very personal task for me. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about being at Hillel Israel and doing the work that I do. The word 70 in Hebrew, shiv'im, has in it the word sheva, which many of you might know is the word for 7, but it also has two alternate meanings. One comes from a related word, the word shvu'ah, which means oath or promise. And the other one sounds a little different, but it comes from the same word as the word sova, which means fullness and satiation. So taking these two meanings together, the word shiv'im refers to a full promise or a complete commitment, where completeness and fullness are symbolized by the number 7. A complete week is 7 days, and the 7th day being the Shabbat, being the spiritual dimension of the week. The same thing for the cycle of years. The 7th year, the Shemitah year, the sabbatical year, which is starting in just a few days, by the way, being the spiritual dimension of the cycle of years. So in that context, the 70th year of Hillel Israel is an elevated one, perhaps even one with its own sort of spiritual dimension. 7 is also associated with abundance and enoughness in the Mishnah, with the age 70, according to Pirkei Avot, being the age of fullness, ben shivim leseva. In this week's Torah portion, Parashat Nitzavim, God renews his covenant, his oath, his shvu'ah with the people of Israel before they enter the land, and Moshe states explicitly that the Brit is not only with those that are standing before him that day, but rather with the entire people of Israel, both with those who are standing here with us today before the Lord and with those who are not here with us today. Which leads me to humbly state our full commitment at Hillel Israel on our 70th year, in our year of fullness, of Sova. Our full promise, our oath, our shvu'ah, is to continue our work, bringing the plurality of Jewish voices to life for our students, igniting the spark that comes with being a part of something bigger than ourselves, bonding the people of Israel together, those that were here 70 years ago, those that are here with us today, and those that will come in the future. So please join us in the fulfillment of this oath and help us live up to this full commitment by joining our alumni network, supporting our work, advocating for pluralism and peoplehood in Israel and wherever you are, and being part of the Hillel Israel family. Thank you to everyone, especially to the team at Hillel International for their partnership, and to all of you for being here today and making this simcha possible. Mazal tov, Hillel Yisrael.